Administrative law is the body of primary law created by the executive branch through agencies. Federal agencies have grown in number and importance, and they play a large role in major industries like telecommunications and finance. This is Samantha Israel, and this video will help you understand what administrative law consists of, what regulations are, and how to do this type of legal research on Lexis+. Administrative law refers to law created by the executive branch. Congress creates an agency by enacting a statute, which is called the Enabling Act. When researching administrative law, it's often helpful to begin by reviewing the Enabling Act in order to better understand the agency's purpose and scope of activities. The Enabling Act authorizes the agency to create rules and regulations that govern activities, and to issue agency decisions that interpret and enforce the regulations. When you are researching a federal statute, the applicable sources of administrative law include the Federal Register. Agencies announce proposed and final rules and various other information on their day-to-day activities in the Federal Register. This is published daily and organized chronologically. Eventually, this all makes its way into the Code of Federal Regulations. The Code of Federal Regulations contains all agencies' final rules and regulations that are in force. It's published annually and organized by title, similar to the United States Code. In addition to the rules and regs, administrative agencies issue decisions that interpret and enforce regulations. It is important to search each of these sources because agencies can clarify laws and create new rules that must be followed. Let me give you a quick example to help you understand. We all know that in order to board a flight, we have to present a valid ID and pass through security. Why? Because that's a regulation or rule created by the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA. Let me show you how this works. Congress, through 49 U.S.C. 114, enacted a law that gave Air Transportation Security Operations Authority to an agency, the Department of Transportation. The DOT delegated these operations to their administration, TSA. TSA then created Regulation 49 CFR, or Code of Federal Regulations, 1540.107. This states that passengers and other individuals at an airport may not enter a secured area without submitting to screening and inspection of their person and accessible property. As this example shows, when you are conducting statutory research, you must also look for any regulations that create specific duties under an act or otherwise clarify the language of a statute. An easy way to remember this is using the acronym SRAC. When you are conducting statutory research, you need to look at the applicable statute, regulations, administrative materials, and cases. This video will show you how to conduct administrative law or regulatory research on your own. Let's say you are contacted by a biologist who studies hawksbill turtles off the island of Mona, Puerto Rico. She wants to know if the turtles and their habitat are covered under the Endangered Species Act. To conduct this research, we will start with the federal statute and link to the regulations. And then I'll show you how to search regulations. And finally, I'll show you how to search administrative materials. Let's go on to Lexis+ now and get started. The first thing we need to do is find the Endangered Species Statute. A quick way to do this is to use Explore Content and select United States Code Service under the Federal tab. Now I'll search all documents in the United States Code for Endangered Species Act. The second result, Section 1531, Congressional Findings and Declaration of Purposes and Policy, is the first chapter of the Act, which makes it a great place to start. Let's click this. We're looking for information on endangered species and whether their habitat is protected. Let's look at the surrounding code sections to see if there's anything that may help. Open the table of contents on the left. There is a section titled Determination of Endangered Species and Threatened Species. This could give us more information. As we read the text of the statute, we can see that paragraph A3A states the Secretary shall, concurrently with making a determination under paragraph 1 that a species is an endangered species or a threatened species, designate any habitat of such species which is then considered to be a critical habitat. So what is a critical habitat and is it protected? Let's look further into the regulations clarifying this statute. To find the regulations promulgated under this statute, simply click on the Go To menu at the top of the page to jump to the Research References and Practice Aids. Under the heading Code of Federal Regulations, we can see the regulations on the application of the Endangered Species Act to critical habitats at 50 CFR 226.10. We'll use this link to get to the pertinent regulations. As with statutes, the Code of Federal Regulations also has a table of contents menu. If I click to view the full table of contents, I can see all the regulations on the application of the ESA to critical habitats of all different species. As you can see from this list, there's a regulation entitled Critical Habitat for Hawksbill Turtle, which is exactly what we need. And here we find that the critical habitat for the hawksbill turtle is the water surrounding the islands of Mona and Monito in Puerto Rico. From here, you could then shepherdize this regulation to find cases and secondary sources that apply and interpret the regulation. Now let's take a look at how to search for regulations and agency decisions using the search bar. Let's search across all content on Lexis for endangered species and critical habitat. To find regulations, we need to switch categories and go to Administrative Codes and Regulations. Now we can access the Federal Register and Code of Federal Regulations sections on our topic. Then, to find agency decisions and directives, you could click on Administrative Materials from the category menu in the top left corner of your screen. Then, from here, you can filter by agency. For example, you could narrow this list to the EPA to see manuals, guidelines, published materials, and more related to endangered species and critical habitats. You can see this provides a number of different EPA sources that would provide more insight on this issue. Now you know how to do administrative law research on Lexis Plus. You can now start with a federal statute and link to the regulations, search regulations, and search administrative materials. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, reach out to your Lexis reps.